Welcome, 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 everyone. We are back with Conversations with Katrice. I'm excited to be back with you guys. It's been an awesome journey. We actually started on August the 28th with Pastor Lydia Ford, and we've been going every other week since then. We've had some phenomenal guests, and the most important part is you've been here. So we are excited about what we are going to be talking about tonight. And before we begin, I always got some announcements for everyone, but we want to welcome you, and we want you to share, and we want you to invite your counterparts and your friends and those people, especially if you're in the Curse Stops Here or the Family Bible Study group. This is a private Facebook group. And so if you are on either of those platforms or on my YouTube channel or my LinkedIn, don't hesitate to share so that other people can get the information too. God gave me this vision so that we can be empowered and encouraged, and just to go on and be stronger and be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. So we're trying to equip you with the right tools. We've had financial advisors, we've had business leaders, we've had substance abuse counselors on, we have grief counselors on. And so it's been great conversations around things that are really impacting our people, just people in general in the whole wide world, especially since the pandemic. And we want to make sure that you are equipped for what's coming in 2024, or even what maybe be happening in your life right now. So we wanted to be able to make sure that you have the right resources and that you have the right tools so that you can, um, like I said before, be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And so tonight we have a special guest, and a lot of the things that she does in her business centers around what the Curse Stops Here was founded on. And when we were having a conversation, I was telling her about the show and what we do and how I started the Facebook group and everything. And it was just so awesome how our thinking and our platforms align with each other. So I'm almost positive that this conversation tonight is going to bless you, especially those of you who are members of the Curse Stops Here community. So thank you for tuning in. If you are watching from some place other than New Jersey, I'd like to know where you are watching from. And even if you're watching from New Jersey, what town are you in and where are you looking at us from? So just on the scope of the announcements, for those of you who do not know, I am an international best-selling author, and we released the book, The Creatives, The Leadership, this year. I was co-author in this book with, I think it's about 10 of us, maybe. And it was such a blessing. First of all, I shared this with you all before, that it was my first time actually being an author, like writing a book. So I had, we were all asked to do a chapter. I have written many songs, but this was the first time I actually wrote a book. And the book is creatives who have been in leadership positions and what our how we see being a leader. So it's a really good book. And if you haven't gotten it, get it. But this is why I wanted to make that announcement. We will be doing our first book release in Connecticut on December the 30th, and it's going to be Meet the Authors. It's at 2 p.m. and it's going to be at the Collective Space in on Windsor Avenue in Windsor, Connecticut. And the to get in is $20, and so there will be refreshments, and the $20 includes refreshments. So if you are in that area, Windsor, Hartford, Bloomfield, Connecticut area, and surrounding towns, come on out to the Collective Space and meet the authors of The Creatives Leadership. I'm excited to be a part of this book, am looking forward to also meeting some of the authors because some of them don't live near me. So I've never met them before. So I'm looking forward to meeting them as well and meeting you, autographing some books and just talking about my experience with writing and how I, came up with the idea with the chapter and things like that. Um, those of you who have been following me for any length of time, I before the pandemic, this was the first time that I ever did this, but I went in the studio with my producer and we just went live. We did it around Christmas time. It was amazing. We did hymns and Christmas carols. We did about an hour and we ended up just going into worship. It was just so awesome. Then the pandemic hit, so I couldn't do it the following year. But this year, we're going to be doing worship and thanks unto God for because he's so good. Because we done went through some stuff. And if you're still standing, you have to have a testimony that God is absolutely awesome. And so we're going to be going live this coming Wednesday, November 22nd, and it's going to be in the middle of the day. So those of you who are out shopping or whatever, cooking, getting ready for Thanksgiving, turn us on and just listen to us. We'll be doing some worship music, some songs, some familiar songs, just songs of thanks and worship unto God for how good he is to us. He's such a good, good father. So join me for an afternoon of worship and thanks, Wednesday, November the 22nd at 12 p.m. on my Facebook and YouTube. I might go live to LinkedIn too. I'm not sure, but right now, definitely Facebook and YouTube. We will be live, and we want you to join us to get your Thanksgiving kicked off right. Okay. So thank you for that. And I'll be looking forward to seeing all of you on the live. So that's all the announcements that I have for this evening. So without further ado, I am going to bring on my guest for tonight. I met her at a conference in Atlanta, and she was talking about, it was a businesswomen's conference, and we kind of like hit it off. Then I found out she lives in Ohio, y'all. Y'all know that's where my husband is from, right? So I was like, oh man, that is so cool. And we connected. I connected with her right away, and things just kicked off. And I love what her business is about. I love her motivation and what she is doing to help people become the best version of themselves, to put down things that may stop them from being who they were authentically created to be by God. And so without further ado, I would like to bring on to the conversations with Katrice. The curse stops here. Miss Monique Phifer.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am so blessed and so glad to be here.
Good, good, good. So yeah, I was telling the people I was telling them about the conversation we had prior to the interview, and the conversation just talked because you wanted to know how the conversation went, and we ended up talking about the curse stops here and how it got started, and it was just so amazing to me how our platforms align so much. And so I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into I'll kind of like flow off of things that you're saying. And we'll just have a great conversation about how we can empower and encourage and equip the people to be just the best versions of who God created them to be.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me, Katrice. It is truly an honor to be here with you tonight. I remember that day that I met you in Atlanta, and one of the things that stood out for me was your smile. And you were
Oh,
so engaging and just so it was very comforting because I went by myself.
yeah,
Just to interact with somebody who just their presence was comforting. And then your cousin came and I said, okay, God, I'm in good company.
yeah.
But I am Monique Phifer. I am a mental health therapist, a transformational coach, a grief educator, a speaker, and a trainer. I do reside in Columbus, Ohio, by way of Youngstown, Ohio. And I have built my business around helping people thrive to be their authentic self. My business is Solutions for the Silent. It is a personal development company where we offer mental health therapy, training, speaking, and coaching.
Cool. So what made you decide to go this way? Because that's a lot. Like, people who need that kind of help. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot. They're coming from a most sometimes a very dark place. So what made you go into that line of counseling, coaching?
Yeah, so I do coaching and counseling around it. So honestly, it was not me, it was God. So I have
Okay.
been in the church all of my life, and I knew I wasn't an evangelist. I mean, I would usher, I would sing, but I knew that however God used my I knew that my education would put me into ministry.
Mm,
And I remember thinking that, and back then people weren't really talking about that. They were
yeah.
really like, okay, you're supposed to be this, and that in the house of the Lord. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just knew at a very young age that it looked different from me. And really just wanting to be in God's will, do wanting to do his will and wanting to fulfill purpose. And it really just hit me out of nowhere. So I was one of those extremely comfortable working for the man, doing my 9 to 5, minding my business and going
Yeah.
forth. But yet my spirit man was calling out for the will of God to have dominion over my life. And
Hmm.
by doing that, God just put in my spirit his people. And it just one day, it was in 2015, I was just going through social media and I came across one of the, I think he was a bishop at the time. He was saying how other pastors, preachers, bishops were committing suicide, and it was post after post, and it just jolted me. And I remember going to my pastor and saying, what is going on? Like it, I mean, I knew how it affected people in the world, but
Yeah.
just thinking about it in the church,
Yeah.
it became personal.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 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 no. I got to do something about that. And through really just being very diligent and try and seeking God the whole way. Lord, what am I supposed to do? How do I take what I know to help your people? And that's really how Solutions for the Silent came about. It was a company that ideally was for people in ministry who were dealing with depression, anxiety. They were suffering in silence. That's where Solutions for the Silent comes from. And
Right.
from there, it just grew into helping others as well.
Yeah. So when you say that, when you give me that explanation and I think about the name of your company, that is so real. I grew up in the church as well, and I know that in the church, right? A lot of times, even when you want to speak out, you're shunned for doing it. So, especially if you're a leader or whatever, you want to portray yourself as being strong and like there's really nothing wrong with me. And so then that's thus we get the suicides and all of that kind of stuff. And so that is what happened. That, like I was sharing with you before in our conversation, that's how the Curse Stops Here came about.
Mhm.
Because I refuse to be silent. I know God gave me a gift. I know that, like, I'm educated. I went to school for music and, this and that or whatever. I know a little bit about what I'm doing, and but yet I'm not being accepted. How do you deal with that? Like, who do you talk to? What do you do? So I started blogging. So what are some of the ways that you help your, like, something practical that you would tell one of your clients to do to, get to a place where they can find themselves actually, freeing themselves of whatever is putting them in bondage?
So the first thing, and every client is different, but let's just be
Absolutely.
real. We'll be real general.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is before I even accept a client is we have a consultation, because it's so
Mhm.
important for me to know that I am equipped to help you. And I
Yes.
think that is very important, because everybody that comes to me is not my assignment. And I think
Egg.
sometimes
Yes. Say
people
that again. Say that again.
everybody that comes to me is not my assignment. And sometimes I think, especially in entrepreneurial spaces, people feel like, well, Lord, I got to get this bag, right? But
Hmm.
I would rather leave the bag on the side
Yeah,
before I ruin somebody mentally and emotionally.
that's
But
good.
basically, it's putting normalcy around it, right? Because as you stated, it has been shunned, not just in the church, but it had been shunned from everywhere, especially in the Black community. Now,
Yeah,
counterparts sometimes they would go, but us, we wouldn't.
yeah.
I am very grateful that things are starting to turn and people are talking
Hmm.
more about it, but still there is a stigma within our culture that, oh, something's wrong with you, oh, this or that. So I always try to start out with normalcy and letting them know that you did the right thing by reaching out for help.
Yeah,
Sometimes when they're, because I specialize with anxiety and depression, so sometimes when people are really anxious and there's a lot of trauma behind that, there's a lot of loss around that, and just allowing them to know together we're going to get through this. One
yeah,
of the quickest things that I can do with someone is teach them like a grounding technique, and I'll share this with you as well as your listeners. And it's really, when we're feeling super, super anxious, that's what we're feeling out of control. Like everything around us is just, oh my goodness, mine is just going. And you need to center yourself and get grounded. So the first thing I do, and I do this for myself, is I tell myself my feet are planted to the floor. Right. And I make sure that my feet are flat to the floor. Now, with my mind focused that my feet are planted on the floor, I'm not thinking about the bills. I'm not thinking about the next task. I'm not thinking about who didn't call me or who I need to call. I'm thinking that my feet are planted on the floor. Then I do some deep breathing techniques with my clients and just allowing them to breathe that, bring that oxygen up to their frontal lobe so they can kind of be able to think. Because
yeah.
when you're not, when you're super anxious, you're not thinking, you're not
No.
processing. So just giving them that opportunity to breathe and be present. And I've done this in consultations. You're not paying me a dime, but I can't talk to you if you're super anxious. I need to get you
Yeah,
on it so that we can see what the issue is that we can go through, and hopefully I can help them.
that is so cool because that, um, like when I'm dealing with singers or vocalists who are nervous or whatever, I go directly to the breathing. It's
Mhm.
the breathing, close your eyes. I have vocal techniques that I send them through, like, I'll talk them through, like, oh, you're walking through this or whatever. Can you imagine or whatever, just to get their focus back to where it should be. Because a lot of times, especially, excuse me, especially coming from a rejection background in my industry, it's like you have no, well, you do, because this is what you do. But it's so many people who have PTSD. They don't think that they're capable, and I'm talking about these people are good, Monique. Like really are anointed to do what they do, but because they didn't have the look, or their song wasn't like doing sounding like somebody else's, they were rejected, and they really have PTSD. And it's like trying to get them back in a space where they feel like they are worthy, like they are important, like they are somebody. And sometimes it just takes really deep breaths, and then you can talk to them, and then you can calm their spirit down, and then you can speak to them. Because it's, when you're, like you said, I used to suffer with anxiety. Mine was around being, I just never wanted to be late to anything. And because that's the way my father raised us. He was a musician, he was a minister of music, and we were like at the church first. Like nobody, we opened the door and we closed the door, right? And so it was just in me, like, oh my God, I can't be late if I'm running late or whatever. It was so crazy in me. It was bad. It was bad. I would have real bad anxiety before church on Sundays. And but it was the breathing that helped me. Breathing is important. It really is important.
One of the things that you said about the rejection, I just want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, you talked about in your field of artistry, you're gonna get a lot of rejections because they can't take everybody, and then they have this standard, right? So
Yup.
that's I love what you do, just empowering people to be their authentic selves. And what I have found is that we have to go back to giving people permission to be their authentic self. And
Yeah.
society has set it up where if you don't fit a certain mold, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't fit in, we don't want you. And we don't want you in this space. And I think it's so important for people to deal with that mindset, the mindset of I'm not good enough. A lot of times that comes from your youth,
Yeah.
and we have to then extract that and work through it. And there, I have seen some beautiful and wonderful things that happen in therapy. It's so interesting because I can see the transformation with my clients oftentimes before they can. So
Oh,
one of the things that I have found that has helped the most is dealing with the mindset, understanding your belief system, and not just the belief about the world, the belief about yourself and who
mm,
told you the lie that you weren't, right?
that's it.
Stand on the Bible, and the Bible is affirming us page after page. But what we do is when we close that book, we do not absorb what we've read, or we
Yeah.
turn away from it because the voice is so loud of what we're not. But and because of that, I created a program called Be You, and we deal with the mindset, we deal with imposter syndrome, we deal with emotional intelligence, and understanding that critique is not rejection. Everybody needs to be critiqued. Everybody,
Yeah.
if you truly want to be the best version of yourself, you're going to allow somebody to give you some feedback. But in this society today, to say
They don't
something,
want it.
it's
It's
so crazy
crazy.
to me. It's so crazy. But it's necessary to be open to have that critique, because you talked about being the best version of yourself at the beginning of our conversation. And it's so, so important. And then the other thing is making sure that we are allowing ourselves to deal with those inner wounds in our youth. A lot of times we have pushed it down, pushed it down, pushed it down, but guess what? It's going to erupt. I've seen it
Yeah.
erupt. When you see people acting out and you're like, why are they behaving that way? That's that little boy who wasn't nurtured, wasn't directed, wasn't
Hmm.
consoled in an appropriate way, and wasn't taught how to deal with his emotions
Yeah.
appropriately. We got to deal with it. And I hope that if no one hears anything that I say today, is that one, you're enough. Two,
Yes.
where you have areas that you need to fix a little bit, be willing and open to
Yeah.
go in and make the necessary adjustments, because what God has for us, Katrice, is so much greater than what we can see or comprehend, but we're not willing sometimes to do the work to get to the end where he has for us,
That's
because it's
good.
a process. It's a process. He says we are the inheritors of the earth, but if he gave us everything right now, we
Yeah.
wouldn't even know what to do with it. So we have
Right.
to go through the process of life, the
Yeah.
process of adjustment, the process of getting better, the process of acting better, the process of going out into the world and teaching them of Jesus, right? But we're
Yeah.
sometimes willing to do that. But then we're saying, well, God, you said we were the inheritors, but he said, where's your work? What
Hmm.
have you done for me? What have you done with you? And I
Yeah.
am in you. And I know
Yeah.
that it's not right. So fix it.
Yeah. 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 That's good. That's really good. So, this is a question that I deal with all the time with my clients and my artists. What do you think about how social media and these platforms have affected, people's mindset of themselves and, what they should be doing? Like, I'm always battling against that's not your voice. Like, like I can usually tell by somebody's speaking voice or even the lyrics that they send me of a song that that's not who you really are. Where did you get that from? You know what I mean? Like, this is not you. So how do you feel about that? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So I think there's good parts of social media and there's bad parts of social media. I think it's the people parts that we have to work on. I think, and when I say the people parts, it's people who are getting on social media, and that's how they are getting acceptance. That's how they are
Yeah.
feeling affirmed, because there's nobody in their life who's doing it.
Yeah.
Or they feel like that's truly a reality. We
Hmm.
know that it's not. We know it's not. I think
Yeah.
about, I mean, when you think about when you go and you do a photo shoot, You don't look like that every day.
No, you do not.
But people truly believe, oh no, that person truly looks like that every day. They don't.
Yeah.
If they do, God bless them. But I
Yeah.
think I don't want to shun social media because I mean there's good, I feel like there's good and bad in everything, but
Yeah.
who's driving the car? If
Yeah.
you're
Good.
driving the car and you don't have a license and you don't understand the rules of the road, you don't need the keys. And I
Yeah.
think in that example, people are just getting in the car. They're going into roads and streets and valleys that they don't have any business going into. And
Yeah.
they wonder why they can't interact with people appropriately because they're not nurturing their social interactions. They're not
Hmm.
nurturing that at all. COVID had a part of that too, but COVID was a few years. We can't blame COVID over everything. We have
Everything.
to be realistic in saying that there's a breakdown.
Yeah.
Breakdown in how we see ourselves. There's a breakdown in how we feel like it's okay to go behind the scenes, go unseen and talk nasty to people.
Yeah.
I just said this to somebody earlier today. Hurt people hurt people.
Hmm.
And when I see all the atrocities that come across social media,
Oh,
I say to myself, Lord, this is a hurting people who do not know how to regulate themselves.
yeah.
One of the good things about social media, I would say, is the exposure to some of the injustices that have been done to people. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's pulling out their cameras, and now we have proof that it actually occurred. But what
Yeah.
I would say to people who are struggling with just with their image, struggling with wanting to be accepted, and struggling with wanting a community that loves them,
Yeah.
it starts in the mirror.
Yeah.
It starts in the mirror. If
That's
I don't
good.
love me, how can I truly love my husband, my boyfriend, my mother, my sister, my friends?
Yeah.
What happens is we show up ugly. We show up
Mm.
irritable. We show up distant because there's something lacking within ourselves. And if we're
Yes.
just truly honest with ourselves, if we're truly, truly honest with ourselves, there's some inner work that we need to do. We
Yeah.
can't blame it on the other person.
Yeah.
As you
Yeah.
begin, and this is how you know you're healing and you're getting better, is you're doing that inner work. And what that inner work looks like is really reevaluating values, reevaluating beliefs, looking at those inner wounds, understanding that, yes, I was victimized. Yes, I was bullied.
Yeah.
That wasn't my fault. What is
Hmm.
my responsibility is to heal from it.
From that.
People
Yeah.
don't want to.
Hmm.
People want to continue to blame, blame, blame. And when we hear that
Because that's a safe place. That's a familiar place for them. Like they understand what that feels like.
Mhm.
A lot of times we're afraid to move to a place of healing because we don't know what that's going to feel like. And it's the unknown of being secure in who I am. So then now what, I got to be responsible for that. You know what I mean? So like they don't
Mhm.
want to move into that because the other
It's
thing is
scary.
what, yeah, is what they're familiar with. Is
It's
what they're
scary
familiar with.
and it requires accountability,
Yup.
and you got to tell a new story. You can't be
Yeah.
the victim anymore.
Yeah.
I
I
used
agree with you when you say that there's good and bad. Well, first of all, I wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for social media
come on
because
now. We can't
okay,
condemn it, right?
so I love social media, and because especially when COVID happened, like churches were calling me, "Oh my God, I don't even have a video. How do I get my church online?" You know, and that's what I do: websites and social media marketing and stuff like that. And so I'm not against social media, but I try to tell my artists, these people who are watching your, especially if you're going to be in the public eye, like you, to me, you might not be like on the TV or whatever, but you're a public figure when you start releasing music and songs and people are buying your product and stuff like that. You're in the public eye and you want to portray yourself as a certain way. So it's like you can't be putting all your business, and every time somebody get mad, you get mad at somebody, you know, putting a post up that is ridiculous, and they know who you're talking about. You know what I mean? They know you're talking to them, but it just doesn't, it's not a good look. And so I try not, because I'm not a counselor, you know, but I do know I have life experience to
Mhm.
let you know that when people look at your profile and you want to move to a certain level, if you don't have the right thing on social media or portraying yourself the right way, people look at social media for jobs now. Like,
Mhm.
you know, and you're out there put like what you said, putting all your business out there, you're angry, you're hurting, and now the whole world knows it, because and it's not going to go anywhere, because most people who are on there don't know how to take it down. That's why I got a job. You know, they don't know how to erase that kind of stuff. You know, it's up there, it's up there. And
Mhm.
people scroll through your social media, and is this the perception that you want them to have of you? Or are you a totally different person when you're not on there? Like, would you, if that person was standing right in your face, would you still approach them the same way? Is the way I try to, you know, put it across to people, because that's not the person who's on. It's like somebody who drinks, you know, when they get drunk, they can say whatever they want to say.
Mhm.
You're on social media, you're saying all of this crazy stuff. Would you really handle that way if that person was in your, like, face to face? And you have to look at it like that, because there may be one day when you have to be face to face with someone. How would you deal with that situation? Would you show love? Would you show compassion? Would you still be the mean, nasty person that you're portraying on Facebook? And like you said, everything you see on Facebook, most of it is not real. It's
Yeah.
just not.
And it's interesting to your point. Some people would say it to their face.
Yeah,
Some people would have a whole altercation with someone, and because they're so angry and they feel so
yeah,
disrespected, and I truly get it. I get it. I don't minimize the anger,
yeah.
but when you're truly trying to be the best version of yourself, you take a step back and say to yourself, why did that make me so angry?
Yeah.
Why did I allow myself to get to that point out of character?
Mm.
Why? And that's when you're really ready to do some introspection. That's when you're ready to really go within and heal those broken parts, because the individual is probably triggered. And a lot of times people want to say, oh, they triggered me, and that's why
Mhm.
I did that. And he shouldn't have said that. And he was out of line. Okay, those are triggers. But
Right. For
it's
something
still
deeper. For something deeper.
correct. But it's
Yeah.
still not the other person's fault that you got
Yeah.
triggered. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility. If you would say something to me today, Catrice, on this call, and it hits me in my gut, and I'm like, why'd she say that to me? I'm not going to have I'm not going to go off. I'll probably think like, why did she say that to me? And then the next question I'm going to say myself is, why am I feeling that way? So what,
I
she said it. What's
I
going on with me?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the I heard this pastor once. I can't even remember where I was, but it stuck with me. And he was like, embarrassment is a choice. You like these emotions are, you choose to allow those things to make you feel embarrassed and make you feel like somebody is hurting you or whatever. Those are choices you can, just like you chose to accept it and make it go that way, you can choose to say, okay, like you just said, let me investigate that a little bit more. And why is that hurting me? Why did that hurt my feelings? You know, we have choices to make, and sometimes they're in split seconds that we have to make a choice, you know, and which is could be the difference in a matter of life or death.
Mhm,
Sometimes it's really that serious, especially in this climate. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
you, and the choices that you make could either end it in your life, put you in a situation where you got to deal with some legal issues and all of that kind of stuff, opposed to, I refuse to allow them people to make me that angry. I have too much to live for. I am too important. And you're right. I agree 100% with what you're saying. Um I'm so excited that you're on this call, because these are things that our people need to hear. You know, because it's like it takes work. Everything takes work.
Mhm. I'm
And
so glad you brought up choices,
yeah,
because when you asked me to have this conversation with you, I love the topic conversations with Catrice. I love that.
thanks.
When you asked me to do it, I said, "Okay, God, what we doing? What we doing, Lord?" Right? And choices just kept hitting my head. And I was like, okay, God, but okay, And it wasn't until you said what you just said that I was like, okay, it resonates. Because I did a conference back in September, and it was called Let's Heal. And
Mm,
one of the things that I talked about was choices, and
yeah.
that we make over about, I think it was a Harvard article I read, like 75,000 choices in a day.
Jeez.
75,000. So if you really think about it, what am I going to wear? Am I going to do this? Am I going to go right?
Yeah.
Am I going to left? Am I hungry? Am I not hungry? Am I going to sit? Am I going to sleep? We make all these choices like quick, like you said. And at the end of the day, when I thought of the curse stops here, the curse does stop here if we choose to allow it
Choose
to
to.
stop.
That's good. That's good.
If we choose, you
Yeah.
know, and I sometimes I cringe when I hear people say, well, God did this and God allowed this to happen, and God, blaming God for some of the negative things that have happened in their lives. But and I don't say this, I just be minding my business, Katrice. I mind my business. But I really want to say, what choice did you make today? What
Mm,
choice did you make to get you in the situation that you're in?
right.
I didn't tell you to go talk to that married woman.
Right.
Didn't tell you not to get up and take that test. God
Yes.
told
Come
you to obey
on.
the laws of the land, right?
Yep.
So why is it always God's fault when something bad happens?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
fault by God like that to make the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Responsibility. We just don't want to take responsibility for our actions, and the world at large has created a space where you don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way it is. My corporate background is in education, and when I tell you that, I knew it was time for me to retire. When we, like, you could just see the wheel spiraling out of control. These kids don't have to take no responsibilities for their actions, and it's the teacher's fault, or it's this one, or you can't do this, you can't do that. And it's time to go, because this is not the place for me anymore, because it is a choice. When
Mm-hmm.
you wake up every morning, you can choose to do something good or do something bad. You choose, like you said, and I like that. I'm gonna use that 75,000 choices in a day. That is true. But the main choice you can make is to be someone that people can count on. Every morning I pray, God, let me be the solution to someone's problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the problem. I want to be the solution. I know you have put something in me that's going to help somebody today. If you don't show me what it is, I won't know what it is. So show me that, God. I'm open. I say this all the time to songwriters. If you're not open to hearing what God is downloading from heaven, then you're writing the song and he's not writing it. And it might not give you the result that you want. You know what I mean? Because it's just, being open is just a way that you have no idea what can happen when you're open to change, to accept your situation, to be able to make a, all right, I'm going this way, but I should be going this way. And Monique just gave me some great tools, so I'm going to use them. Choose to open the book and learn them and put them into practice, and you will see the difference in your life. Who said it to me today? My son said, the definition of insanity, the same thing over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and expecting a different result.
Different
And
result.
then you're going to keep coming back to me, and you're going to keep spending thousands of dollars, and you're doing this and that or whatever, when I'm giving you the tools. Choose to use them. Choose to
So let
use
me
them.
let me give you another tool for you, and for you already know this, but for your listeners. So when you are going to be responsible and you're choosing to be on the right path for your life, you got to change your environment.
Mm,
And that's the hardest thing to do sometimes.
yeah.
Because you talked about it earlier, Katrice. A lot of times people don't want to, they don't want, it's comfortable.
Yep.
It's comfortable being in this space that I was in. Doing something different is unknown. I'm scared and it's uncomfortable. But some of these environments that we're comfortable in, they're holding us down. They're
Yeah.
not allowing us to prosper. They're not allowing us to
Yeah.
inherit the earth. They're not allowing us to get new mindsets. They're not allowing
Mm,
us to grow develop develop spiritually or mentally or socially or physically,
that's so good.
because there's negativity. Always, what you doing now? Oh, you think you better. No, I'm just God's kid
Yeah.
and he requires more of me. So I'm
Yeah.
going to do this thing. But because of that person's heaviness and unbelief in themselves, they want to spit game at the person who's trying to do
Yep.
the right thing. They want to tear them down. And that environment is no longer good. And then the next thing is you change the environment. The haters are going to say, well, you think you're too good for us now. But
Mhm.
you got to find a new environment.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you can toggle, but you got to protect this right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every space I go, everybody can't go with me.
That's right.
They can't.
And when they start falling off, I always say, let them.
Let them
They
fall.
are not supposed to come. Let them fall off, because the bottom line is you're only hurting yourself by staying in that situation. And then that's where the hurt and the anger comes in at, and then where you could have been in a situation where you can toggle, because now you're moving forward, and it's not like you don't love them or you don't
Mhm.
care about them anymore. Now you're in a situation where you don't want to be bothered with them at all,
Yeah.
when it didn't have to be that way, when you would have just, like you said, changed your environment. This is so good. This conversation is so good. But we're 44 minutes
I
in,
see that.
and I am so, and nobody came on tonight really too much, but they'll probably watch the replay. And I don't have any comments, but this is so good. We need to talk more often.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for coming on. If you want to get in contact with Monique, you can reach her at info@moniquephifer.com. And the name of her business is Solutions for the Silent LLC. And if you are that pastor, that leader, that person, and you don't even have to be in ministry, but if you are that person, period, who is just struggling with your finding your real core self and who you are, because you're angry or because you're hurt or you've been hurt or you find yourself in a situation, I encourage you to reach out to Monique so that she can give you the tools that you need to come up out of that, because the earth is groaning for people who are solid, people who they're looking for us. If you They're looking for God and they don't even really realize it. I said this on a live that I did a couple weeks ago on the record label. I was like, they're looking for God and they're reaching for him. We're being invited as musicians into all kinds of arenas. They don't care that you're gospel. I did a cafe right before like COVID. We were coming out of it, and I did a cafe, and it was an open mic night, and you sign up, and I wasn't going to sign up because everybody was singing R&B music. And when the girl came by, she said, I know you're a singer. You need to sign up. I said, well, I'm just going to tell you now, when I get on this stage, I'm just going to sing gospel. And I sang what was in my heart. Do you know, from that moment on, this atmosphere shifted in that place.
Mhm.
Everybody who came up after me sang a gospel song, a Christian song, a worship song. The whole atmosphere shifted. You have a purpose wherever God plants your feet, but only if you refuse to be someone else and be you. I love it. Be you. Be you. You will. No one booed me off the stage. No one said, get out of here. God used that opportunity to shift the atmosphere. If there was no one in there that didn't know him, they knew him after that night. And we found out the other people who did know him, because literally everyone who came after me sang some kind of gospel worship or Christian song. And so I'm telling you, you don't know who's in the room who needs what you have. So we encourage you tonight to be the best you that you can be. So as we leave, I like for my guests to give them a nugget. You've been giving out nuggets and tools the whole night, but I'm sure you got something hot that you can just drop on them as we leave them tonight.
Absolutely. So, we're in the holiday season, and
Mm,
I know a lot of people are having a hard time. If
yeah,
it's not financial, it's the loss of someone, and trying to navigate this season without them, or just being lonely. I
yeah.
looked at a statistic, and it shook me. I think it said 55% of people were dreading the holidays because of dealing with loneliness. And
Mm,
I just want people to understand that you're not alone, that God loves you. You have to find a community of people who understand you. To suffer in silence it's not doing anything good for you.
yeah,
And if you're thinking that you're not worth living, if you think that life is just too much, it's we need you.
yeah.
Life would not be the same without you. And don't give up. You're
Mm,
lovable, you're loved, you're needed, you're important. This is just a temporary time in your life that feels super, super heavy,
mm,
which oftentimes is a normal part of life.
yeah,
There's ebbs and flows of life where we feel light and when we feel heavy. And with it being the season, we're about to go into winter. A lot of people deal with seasonal affective disorder, meaning they don't get that sunlight that helps increase the mood. Sometimes it's just that simple. Like, oh, I
yeah,
have this. Go see someone. Go talk to a doctor about your mood. Talk to somebody about your loneliness. Talk to somebody about your grief, about your pain. You don't have to suffer alone. There
yeah.
is more in life for you. God loves you. He has me here. He has Katrice here to reinforce that message to you.
Yes,
You are
yeah.
important and you do matter.
Yes, you are. So thank you for tuning in. Those of you who are going to watch the replay, and those of you who watched in silence, I could see y'all popping on and popping off. It's okay. We love you and we thank you for tuning in. Like I said, if you want to reach out to Monique, please do. She is a wonderful woman of God and she is excellent at what she does at info@moniquephifer.com. And she's my friend. So hit her up. And we'll be so careful, like she said, to be here for you, to honor you, to pray with you, to talk with you, whatever you need. And so we thank you for tuning in. Let us know you watched the replay. Have a great Thanksgiving. Find somewhere to be and some people to talk to if you feel like you need it. Have a good night and grace and peace be with you. Bye bye.